Review Board. My name is Sam Harold, and I'm the chair of the CRB. As a note, this meeting is open for the public to attend and is being recorded through Zoom. Zoom has been set up for video recording purposes only, and there's not an option for public participation at this time. If anyone needs a transcript of this meeting afterwards, please reach out to OPAT staff at opatboards@boston.gov. Public comment will not be held during this meeting. You are welcome to submit any comments you have to that opatboards@boston.gov email address, and they will be acknowledged at the next OPAT Commission community meeting. I'm now going to take attendance of all CRB members who are present for this meeting. When you hear your name, please publicly acknowledge that you are present. And is there doesn't seem to be an attendance sheet.
I think we did a sign in with.
No, it's just a sign in.
There. Yeah.
Yep.
Just that.
I handed it back to you.
Over here.
You have our names.
Over here. Yeah.
Yep.
We should have that.
Okay. Samuel Harold, I am here. Amari Perez is not present. Bernard Fitzgerald.
Here.
Diafort J. Florissant, not here. Joshua Dankoff.
Here.
Natalie Carithers, not here. Peter Alvarez.
Here.
Reginald Smalls.
Here.
Tanisha De Leon.
Here.
Because we have 6 members of the 9, we have a quorum. And so this morning we'll run through the agenda that you see on the screen.
Should be in your sheet, your. I actually don't have an agenda either.
I have an agenda on the first page.
I have a table of contents, but I don't have.
It's on one.
May 15th agenda meeting, this, that,
Oh, yeah, I have that too.
is this in fact today's? This must be today's.
Yeah.
It said
Yeah.
we're reviewing.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yes. That's what that's.
Okay, great, thank you, sorry.
Today is September. So we will run through the agenda that you see. Each member has a copy of the agenda in their binder. So our first order of business today is to approve the meeting minutes from the May 15 meeting. So if you pull to the next section, there's a Civilian Review Board public meeting minutes. And if we want to take 5 minutes to just review it, we can.
Review the minutes, chair, and move to accept, adopt them.
Second.
I have one minor correction.
Yes,
My name is not on page 3. Does not have an F in the end. It's small. These small. Third paragraph down.
oh. Okay, so, do you move to amend?
Yes.
I second that motion. Should we do a roll call vote?
On those minutes with the.
With the minutes of the amendment?
Yeah.
Joshua Dankoff,
Approved.
Bernard Fitzgerald, Ms. De Leon,
Approved.
Mr. Smalls,
Approved.
and I don't have your
Alvarez.
Alvarez,
Who's right there? Alvarez.
Mr. Alvarez.
Approved.
Okay, and so approved, minutes with the small correction of adding an S to remove Mr. Small's name on page 3. On to the next order of business.
Mr. Chairman.
So we'll move to the executive director's report.
There you go. I knew it was
The
about.
chair acknowledges Executive Director Avandro Carvalho to present this report to the Civilian Review Board.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. And welcome, I should say, to the Civilian Review Board's 3rd meeting of the year. I will say that alone is a big accomplishment. We have not had to cancel a meeting all year. We're on track. So I want to thank all of you for your time and dedication to the work of OPAT. I am Avandro Carvalho, and I've had the privilege of being the Executive Director of Office of Police Accountability and Transparency for almost over a year now. And, you know, I like to usually take this time for members of the public, just give a synopsis of some of the work that the OPAT Administration and Commission, and the various 8 entities within OPAT have been up to particularly since our last meeting of this board on May 15th, in the spring, as you may recollect. Before I dive into some of the work, first of all, I want to thank the members of my team for their dedication and their hard work. We are a team of 7 right now, so we are a small but mighty team. It's hard to execute things consistently with a team that's pretty much at least half capacity right now. And you will learn that we have several open positions that are at various stages of hire. Hopefully, by the next time you meet, most of these folks will be on the team. So we are a team of 7 now, and we are in the process of hiring some key roles, including 2 investigators, a director of finance administration, communications director. I think I flagged that for you in the past, and the community engagement coordinator. Even though, again, we're sort of a small team and working at half capacity, we continue to execute things over the summer, including particularly community engagement. We continue to do our open door days on Wednesdays here. First Wednesday of the month. In fact, we had one in July where we had over 10 young people attend and got engaged in terms of the work that we're doing. We continue to do bi-weekly, every other Friday, executive director coffee hours, where I've been to most part of the city right now. Even Brighton in South End and some of the other areas. So those are happening consistently through the summer. And perhaps even more importantly, our fiscal year 25 annual report is complete and should be released shortly. I will be sure to perhaps even this week share the product with you so you can have it. The other thing that I'm super excited to to touch bases on is the work that you all are doing, particularly having voted on the subcommittee policy, for policy and the policy committee, obviously. I want to shout out particularly Josh, who's been leading this effort. There's been 2 meetings, right? And we have work product to work on today around that. So I think that, again, that's a major milestone for the agency to have subcommittee meetings and to be able to execute, work product out of that subcommittee. So I want to highlight that. And the other thing that I want to highlight is you all have received, and in the future, we're going to try to do these much sooner when we receive them, is the responses that we finally got from the commissioner, BPD commissioner particularly, on several cases. We've received those responses in June. And again, I heard some of the discussions around it already, like in terms of we'll dive into some of that stuff. But essentially, the posture is that the commission is getting these responses from the CRB and sending them to IID for further assess. And you'll find this and things, right? So all of that, again, it's the quotes and some of the things are directly in the letters that you all see. So I won't go into the details of them. But I just wanted to sort of highlight that we did receive, I believe, 4 or 5 responses from the commissioner, right? There's some outstanding more letters that are incoming, but I think that is at least in the right direction because we hadn't received them in much, as you all aware. The other thing that I'm very proud that we were able to do over the summer too is that we had the second OPAT commission meeting. Where we touched bases on, we had just received the responses from the commissioner. So we discussed the responses from the commissioner and we voted on some key things that I think are important to note here. Including a 45 days timeline for the commissioner to respond to letters, recommendations from the boards, particularly the CRB boards, that give them 45 days, because again, most of the cases had been for months at a time. We also voted on the fact that the CRB meetings, findings usually are final, and that's articulated in the ordinance, that the commissioner, he may change, if you will, the disciplinary action that he chooses to impose on an individual, but he cannot sort of say, this was sustained, I'm unsustaining, right? So that's the thing, I don't know why he landed in that space. Part of it, I think it might just be perhaps that he didn't know that was, how the ordinance is articulated. So we agreed again from the commission's point of view too, that we're going to send him a letter sort of talking about some of these things, including again, the response time and as well as most importantly, actually, the last component of that came out of that meeting that I mentioned is that we voted to start subpoenaing in offices. So as you know, the OPAT commission, particularly, which has a chair here, obviously your chair was there, and so was the chair from IID. Based on our ordinance, by vote of 2/3, we can subpoena offices, obviously anyone really, and documents and such, right? So what they determined, though, which I think it makes sense, what we voted on was that for routine cases, which most of the cases that we're dealing with here in terms of complaint comes in, they delegated that power to me as one of the part of that commission. I'm actually the chair of that commission to be able to just execute those so that we're not just coming in to vote. Let's subpoena this officer, that officer. So it's going to be more routine going forward in terms of subpoena. We still got to set up the parameters of how the subpoena will go out, like draft subpoena. So we're not totally in that space yet, but this was a big milestone for the agency because, as you all know, aware, because I'm sure you're reading some of the articles around the agency, and I'm sure community members are talking to you. This tool that we've had in our toolbox since the beginning has not been used as an agency, so it was imperative that we move that process forward. And I think that will be monumental for us going forward in terms of next steps in the future of the agency. Okay, so I think there's a couple more things that I want to mention, so I just want to review my notes briefly, and then I'll pass the word back to you, and the work of the board can continue. I think I just close again. Actually, the one thing I did have here which we probably will discuss more. I know at least a couple of the members were part of this, the previous, members of the board. We got responses around case 18, right, which sort of raised this level of consciousness for us to see what, this was the first time the DPD, sort of the commission sent the case to IID, and they did a further investigation, right, where they produced a report, which I think you all would be sending to you all, right? So that it was part of what made me say, okay, we need to elevate, right? Because now, because I wasn't aware that there was a thorough investigation happening in the sense, in the sense that it is going now, right? And in addition, the responses that we got, sort of saying, I'm sending them in. My thought process on that, I'm bringing it up because that's a change in how this happened in the past. And when I look at the responses in the past, prior to case 18, cases were not going through IID for further investigation, right? There were returns, like, I'm gonna do this, or do not do this, but so they'll start the transition in terms, so that's why it became very important for us to sort of focus and bring attention to case 18. Obviously, it was in the news as well with some of those things. But I'll close here because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I want to kind of just frame again some impactful work that we continue to do and just sort of some of the challenges that we're facing, right? Including again, particularly around the response time as well as subpoenas. But I'll close by saying, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you do for OPAT. Obviously, no easy feat. It's a lot of work here, and I appreciate this meeting happening today. Any questions?
Yeah, so more of a comment. I know you said we're looking for a communications person. I like in seeing that, commissioner and what they did and sending to IID, number one, like in terms of comms, even before we find someone, the newspaper should kind of know that like they're just taking a new approach and trying. I mean, what I would say is whitewash whatever we find and then like kind of retcon any of those findings or see where there was any absence of information and try to kind of fill it with something else. So
Yes.
I think it's important, number one, to highlight the case, especially these more kind of severe cases.
Right.
When they go over and like and he makes a determination, that way the view of the public that we are the representatives of the public more than anything. We're the ones that are the representatives of the community, not necessarily for law enforcement. They represent the public in a different way, but we represent what the public deems as appropriate. I think it's important to kind of highlight these cases with news, like with local media and everything, to be like, this is what we found, this is what it was, this is what the commissioner said. Also highlighting, they're gonna go and send it to IAD, but it's important for you as the media to know, here's what we found, here's the information, here's our findings, here's the vote. Because I think to see that juxtaposition is a story within itself. And I think what's really important too for the members of the community to see and know, and something that should be stressed by this office, is before these things all happened in darkness, no one ever knew anything. There was nothing before. No one knew officers' names, any of the circumstances that took place. So people could be repeat offenders over and over and over. No one knew that. And I think like that's an important thing to stress to the community, because sometimes you hear out in the community, oh, what's the use of even having it if he can just reverse everything no matter what, if the commissioner can reverse it, or now they'll just send it to IED to whitewash it. Well, the purpose is the media and the community knows what your representatives as part of the community found and what they say is unacceptable behavior, what's sustained, what's not, what, and what the discipline should be based on their view of the discipline matrix. That's really important, because do we want to go back to the time where there was no daylight and no one knew what was happening, and this was just happening in the cover of darkness? You don't see any patterns with the department, their practices, or any specific officers. Like that in itself is a win, to be able to have community members look at this stuff and then make a determination. So I think just in terms of, I know we're looking for a comms person, but I do think it's important to get out ahead of it and kind of, especially on some of those cases, like when it comes back, hey, here's what we found, here's what it is, here's what they're saying, and they're trying to do this next step. I know it can create some friction, but I do think it's important for this office to maintain some level of support in the public, and I think part of it is stressing the daylight part of it, like we're shining a light on this practice that used to be done in the background that you would never heard about. And also just like kind of getting out ahead of like, you know, anyone reversing things and then saying their finding is the final, you know.
Are we assuming that IAD will whitewash all these things?
I mean, I think in the last case that we just did, that was a case where we recommended things. They said they couldn't find something sustained. Because, and that would actually be a wrong finding. It should be insufficient evidence because the camera, in violation of policy, the camera was off. And also another camera caught the officer saying that he hit the kid with the gun.
I'm not talking about one case. I'm saying, are we to assume that from now on, anything that goes to IAD?
Well, in that
will be
case was the
whitewashed?
first case where we saw that
Okay.
procedure happen. And so in the first case that we saw that
But do we
procedure
wanna
happen, we
send
saw
the,
it.
do we wanna send a message?
No, I think it's important to kind of, no, I think it's important to be proactive in making sure, number one, the concern of the community is that what I'm voicing is the concern, and I think that's a very valid concern, and after seeing the first time it's taken place, it is super valid. So it's important to kind of make sure we're assuaging the community, letting the media know, hey, this is what happened. They can see for themselves what the findings were for us and how they've come to a
Yeah.
contrary finding, and so.
And my feeling is that what you're saying is that not necessarily we say that they are whitewashing.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is what happened at the meeting.
Yeah.
We talked to reporters, we put that story out there. And then whatever else plays out the way that it does, then that the community will have access to both sides of the
Yeah.
story.
And what they think,
Is
and
this the first time that things have gone to IAD from?
yeah, after,
That we know of.
That we know
Can you confirm
of.
that all of the previous sustained findings from CRB that have been responded to by DPD commissioner, there's been no mention of IAD.
This is, I have to look at the letters to say specifically if there's mention of IAD. This is the first time where this is thorough, you know, 20-page, well, the document is a production of further investigation.
I
That
would
has
say-
not been done, in the past.
Because for me, there, and this in part answers the question, or is in response to your question, Mr. Fitzgerald, the people in the community chose to bring their complaints to OPAT. They could have, at the time that they had a complaint, gone to BPD internal affairs, right? They could have done an internal thing. OPAT was set up specifically as a separate entity so that people would not have to rely on BPD internal affairs because in part they didn't trust it. And then for us to then go through our entire process, sometimes that taking months or a year, submit that to the commissioner, and then have the commissioner's response be, I'm gonna now submit this to internal affairs, doesn't actually align, in my opinion,
So
with the
it wasn't-
intent of
so
the
it wasn't a
ordinance.
positive step then for the commissioner to, for the first time, submit these cases to IAD. That wasn't a good thing. That's what I'm trying to understand. I thought that
In our
I
opinion,
thought that was a positive thing, that for the first time, the commissioner has actually taken it and sent it to IAD.
no,
for further
so in
investigation.
all prior circumstances, for the most part, sometimes where something was left open, sometimes we ask them for more information, or sometimes there's information gaps. I think, most times, he has taken recommendations before and implemented discipline, because the ordinance allows him to do that without it going to IAD, right? You know, based on those findings. There has been times where he's like, okay, we need to, like, cause sometimes our findings will be against, like, an officer that's unnamed, but we kind of have a sense of who they are or something like that. There's like maybe some additional kind of investigation that needs to happen. But a lot of times he'd say, I'm not taking your recommendation. I don't find this, or, yep, I agree with the finding, but not the recommendation or whatever. But like, he never had said on all these cases, like, I'm recommending this go to IAD before even saying anything. I think that that's a big change, number one.
and in my opinion, a negative change. It's
Yeah.
not showing that he's treating us seriously, it's showing that he's
That's what I'm trying to.
throwing our.
That's what I'm trying to understand. When the executive director gave his report, it seemed to me that, well, now at least he's doing something. And again, we're getting a response and it's
Well,
not.
he was responding before. No, I don't
So
think,
it's not a good.
There
I
have
think-
been 18 recommendations
Yeah.
from the CRB for sustained findings and recommendations for discipline. prior to the 4 that we received now, there have been 2 responses saying, yes, there will be some from the commissioner saying, yes, there will be some discipline. It is much lower than what we recommended. 2 oral reprimands. And now we're seeing, instead of just responding, he's saying, well, actually, I don't know, I need to submit this for my own internal review
Yeah.
to
Yeah, it would be preferential if he could make a decision, respond. And look, I'm not against making the decision, imposing the discipline. And if there's other things, like sometimes we make 4 different findings for one particular officer, maybe 2 of them then come to, hey, I'm sending those to IAD. And I think this goes part and parcel with actually making sure that the officers come in for the interviews, they participate or what have you, and making sure to be sure that if they're in those interviews, they should be getting paid by the city to participate in the interviews. So like there's that dynamic going on there too. But the fact that if they can stonewall and decide not to even interview and give their side of the story, then it leads to the commissioner being able to be like, okay, then IAD. And so now it's gonna we're gonna have to do like more subpoenas and all that. And it's just leading into, if we are able to get more information, we're able to get them to give us the body camera footage in a timely manner and interviews with the officers in a timely manner. And the officer, it facilitates them being able to do so through their department. Then our investigations will be more fulsome. And then there would literally be no need to go back to IAD because the ordinance says we make a recommendation and he, as the commissioner, makes a decision. There may be some cases where there's some like small, like little open gaps, but and he may need to send that to IAD for further investigation. And I would be understanding of that, but to create as a process, oh no, go to IAD because I don't trust what you guys say. That doesn't seem like a positive change. I think if we get more information and get more of the things that we request, and I don't think it needs to be a subpoena each time, it's just collaboration, them coming and if we get that, then they should trust the recommendation. I mean, the part of this is to have the public have trust in what's going on.
I'm just trying to understand.
No, I understand.
No, I'm trying to understand whether it was a positive.
Yeah,
that he was
I can
now
see what-
taking with IAD, or was it not a positive?
Well, it was, we hadn't heard from him in a while, so I do think hearing a response is a positive. But I think I think I see where you're coming from. Yeah. We hadn't heard from them in a while, so hearing something is a positive, but then, you know, when you think of the contrary, it's like what we heard was like eek. And just for the record, the whitewashing is, I bring up that concern as the community concern that even created this in the first place. So not necessarily my personal point of view, but I do think that there's evidence in that first one that could give broader concern for the community.
So, Mayor,
Yes.
I think for brevity's sake, this is a much longer conversation, honestly, you know. So 6 cases to go through, and also we have a set committee to some of this as well. For me, it's really the process, right, of the CRB sends a letter, and it's the new letter saying we're gonna send it to their IAD. Before, I think the responses that we got before doesn't say necessarily IAD, but you could tell that somebody from IAD reviewed it and was sort of almost debunking, like saying, okay, this, I don't agree with this, they watched this video, you know, I'm not sustaining that, right? So there's certainly, we can't circumvent IAD being involved. Because I think he can make a decision, he can send him a letter and say, that's fine, you know, let's do this, right? He can have IAD look at it and say, okay, what are you thinking? Right, so to me, it's more the extent of it. Okay, it's to say, now my process is that you send us a recommendation, I'm now submitting it for review by the IAD, and to see whether I even agree with your sustain or unsustain, right? Sustain the case. That, again, the process, the decision of deciding whether the case is sustained or not, that's one that the ordinance is clear on, at least from my point of view. That doesn't get, almost like an appeal, like he goes over there and unsustain it, right? Which is what he did in parts of case 18. From my point of view, again, one is the process of like sending it there and take, you know, more investigation review, produce what 20-page document, 20+ pages, right? And number 2 is ability to say that the CRB determined that this is sustained to then say unsustained. Those are two separate things, right? So that's sort of like where the rubber, the rope, right? Can he do those things, right? And how long, this is where the 45 days comes in, right? If you find, like, because now we give him 45 days, perhaps it's not time to go and do, a 20-page document interview, right? Investigation with everybody, right? Because it's 45 days to respond. So a big part of it is that I appreciate the discussion, but also it's new, right? And the responses are positive because we are getting them before we are getting them. It's just like, what is this new process? Before he was not doing all of this stuff. That's just my assessment of it, but again, this is why I sort of didn't want to just jump and out there. Like, I thought there was a lot in here that needed to be talked internally and obviously with the board and the commission, which I brought it up to the commissioners at the meeting. That's why we concluded some of these things. I didn't want to just jump out there alone with them, right? But this debate is part of what needed to happen for me to sort of develop a strategy and the next step. But I think, obviously you're going to be, I don't know if that was a question for me or not. We had a discussion around I suggest we should move the agenda forward on this for now. And then, and hopefully, but there's enough here for us to get things done, to move this ball forward as well.
Great, thank
Good.
you, Director. Our next order of business is to discuss matters related to the policy subcommittee held on August 12th, 2025 and September 8th, 2025. I don't know, Mr. Dankoff, do you have
I'm happy to
lead
talk
the
about that.
conversation?
I'll just draw people's attention to a draft letter that is, at least in my.
It's the last document in your meeting material section.
Thank you. So my section 3, the final 3 pages that looks like this, it has a big draft watermark. And I just want to say thank you to the chair and also to Mr. Perez, who's the third member of the policy subcommittee, for your work on this. The policy subcommittee met twice. The first time we met about a month ago and to discuss what issues we would want to take on first. And the first issue that we decided to take on was this exact question that we've just been talking about, the relationship between the CRB and OPAT investigations and BPD. While some of these questions are not necessarily articulated in a specific BPD policy, the practices that we're experiencing have been, in our opinion, really hampering our ability to investigate and also undermining some of the questions of public trust around what this office is doing overall. So that was the first item. There may be further, there are plans for further discussion and other policies in future meetings. This letter that you see here, that is obviously in draft form, captures the discussions and especially the discussions that happened earlier this week at the second meeting. So I wanted to suggest that people take a minute or a couple minutes to read this. I will say that the documents submitting to us to CRB members that we were just talking about, these responses from the BPD commissioner and being sent to IAD. We learned about that after this was drafted, and just in the last since that time, I have some proposed language that would update part of the section 2. So what's now at the top of that first paragraph on page 3. I'd like to take a minute with some proposed language, and I don't know if maybe I can plug in my screen here to share screen. I don't know what that would do with Zoom.
Section 3, but
we don't have it.
He said page,
Page 3.
he doesn't have a page 3.
Oh,
Right.
here, take mine.
No, he can look out with me.
I got it.
thank you. You're missing it
Are you
too.
listening?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe it's up here.
Yes, the last one.
Blue.
This one, you have the second picture?
Yeah.
You got the second one.
I think I'm just missing them.
You're missing the letter altogether?
Yeah, I just have the notes from the last meeting.
I can just print.
It's at the end of the, it was at the end of section 3 for me.
The end of this one?
I think it's probably.
Josh, you have yours?
I guess.
Okay,
He's got it.
thank you. I think it's a different place.
Everybody has a copy
I
or?
think so.
Yes.
Can I plug in there again?
Yeah.
The TV.
So. Your seat or you know maybe.
We're gonna switch places just for this section.
Yeah, I think you mean, we are concerned that the commissioners. Of not sustain or did the sustain, there's that sentence, something's off.
Okay.
No, we are concerned that the CRB's determination of sustain, is it the CRB's or not sustained? There's something,
I'm,
BPD's not sustained.
Was effectively undone. By,
Mr. Dankoff,
yes,
so I'm just reading, are we,
Not.
these are edits that have been added,
correct.
okay,
The red.
The red,
all right,
in light of materials received yesterday.
okay,
So
Mhm.
if I had received materials earlier than yesterday,
yeah,
then I would have been happy to discuss.
I guess
I will say that for people here, what is in writing on paper. Was the recommendation from the policy subcommittee
yeah,
to this group.
Mhm.
As a letter that would go to the VPD commissioner.
Okay.
yeah,
In light of the new material that we received. It seems important to me to incorporate some of those mention of that in the letter.
yeah,
And that is what is articulated here in red.
and my only hesitation is that Amari approved those minutes.
Yeah.
And he's not here to,
Well, I would just say exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Amari did make the recommendation as part of the three-member subcommittee for what was written. He also didn't have this.
No, I understand, yeah.
And who else was the third member?
Sam and I. And
Oh,
Ari.
okay, you have
So
two thirds.
we have a majority of the.
The committee and also the board itself, like, we can create a subcommittee, but now we have quorum here, we can. I mean, I think what Josh did there, mine is the comment I just made, which he just fixed, which was like more of a. It just says like. I mean, I don't have a problem. To me, it looks fine,
Just I have to,
Should we make it a little bigger?
Even bigger, yeah, sure.
You print that page out and then everybody will have it on your desk. It's kind of like,
Uh,
just that page,
I can try.
yeah.
Is this the bright printer?
I'm sorry? Yes,
Rico?
that is the right printer.
Rico.
You could be quiet.
Be a little small because it has a
No,
comment.
no, Fred.
Huh?
Look
Oh,
at the page
three,
yeah.
three. I will say. In addition to this, there may be an additional recommendation or just add a sentence or two concerning this. Or not, concerning what was added.
Should we discuss this like copy first, you think,
Sure.
and then go?
Ah, Happy to. There was also one question, the reason that part of page 2 was highlighted.
Mhm. The clarifying consequences, that section?
Right, is that there was a discussion in the subcommittee meeting that perhaps the defining non-cooperation was not necessary. Because cooperation was
It's
just
implied.
defined,
yeah,
and so non-cooperation would be.
yeah,
Instead of non-line, and I'm fine with that,
yeah.
with that suggested edit.
Okay.
And then I have one other thought about clarifying the consequences of non-cooperation, and I just don't want to get people's read on it. Is that those sort of two things. The idea that there's possible OPAT subpoenas. I feel like my thought is that there's definitely OPAT subpoenas and that it's not necessarily a consequence. It's just part of our investigation. So like we might subpoena people just to subpoena people. So I don't know if we have to say that I guess like I'm like, why say it's even a consequence? Like,
Yeah.
we can maybe even just cooperation includes, but is not limited to responding to subpoenas.
Interview requests and or subpoena.
so as a consequence, you can, I mean,
I thought the hope was
they don't need a
they'll
subpoena.
have an interview request.
Yeah,
If they don't respond to that, they may be
But-
subject to subpoena. Look, if the
but a
office-
subpoena is just legal process. It's not a
Yeah.
consequence.
Yeah.
That's just my
Mhm.
thought
But there is a consequence, like,
for not following. a
for
subpoena.
not,
But that's not a
coming to
consequence that
the-
we can do. That's a
Mhm.
consequence that Superior Court can initiate.
yeah.
Yeah, so we could, what about this proposed edit, in the cooperation
Yeah.
or just and
And
subpoenas? I mean, a subpoena is gonna have a time frame built
Yeah.
in, and then, this doesn't need to be there.
then
And then the footnote, which is probably reference to the subpoena power,
can be moved
could
up.
be moved up.
And then my other thought was, not to stickler around it, is the negative inference language.
Hmm.
Just because, like, I was reviewing the board, the rules, and I just can't find where we can draw that inference. Like, I think
In
that
the ordinance.
yeah, it's not like, I think that's an excellent thing to add to the ordinance, if we're doing like, if we're going to
Or to regulation.
the regulations. I'm just like, can we even say that we can draw a negative inference, because that is actually might be a problem. Like if we send that out and then they're like, what do you mean you can draw a negative inference? It's not in the law.
Yeah.
So I'm just being a little conscientious of the fact that like, I just wanna say,
No, I mean, I think I agree. I think that could be rephrased that the account, BPD's account isn't like the consequences, you're not giving the counter to.
and I guess the defense attorney in me is like, why we should be using the evidence to find
Yeah,
that,
this
find the
isn't a
punishment.
criminal, I see this as like more of a, like, it's not a criminal trial, so like, if someone goes and sues you and. And you don't respond to anything. Anything that the other side, like, they can say something crazy that's a lie, that's one thing, but like things, evidence that they bring in video and audio and interviews and hard evidence that they bring to the
Yeah,
table.
totally.
You have to look at that and
Yeah.
see, is that,
But the
you
reason
don't
why,
take
the
it
reason why we
together.
can do that is because the rules of civil procedure tell us we can.
yeah,
Not because that's just something we're allowed to do. Like, we have to like, look at what the regs don't say that we are allowed to do that. So I don't know if I mean, that might be part of our analysis when we're all deliberating in executive session. That might be true, but I don't know if we can say.
it's not
negative
necessarily a
inference-
consequence, it's more like a.
It is a
Well,
consequence.
no, what I'm saying
It's a
is.
consequence of non-cooperation.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, I don't know if the word consequence is what, like, right, I think it's like,
Yeah, I would just suggest,
Non-cooperation may include remove consequences of.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that whole section is not needed. That bullet for now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The negative emphasis, to kind of perhaps piggyback and flesh out a little more. There is language in our ordinance that says, that we cannot, if they make use of collective bargaining, which most of the letters come through the unions, right, the letters that show up, that we cannot make that inference.
That we cannot.
We cannot make negative inferences. If they say, okay, through the union, I mean, some of this is like not clear, but there is language in the ordinance, which I can pull up.
Yeah,
That sort of cautions us using negative emphasis and its implication on collective bargaining. Okay, where would that be?
the word negative inference is not in the ordinance at all.
No, look up, collective bargaining.
And meanwhile, Josh, at one point, can you send me
This is
that
weird.
draft?
There it is, okay. Should not be punished. Okay,
Any person appearing before the commission or OPAT will avail
Right.
themselves with constitutional guarantees. Well, yeah,
right.
but
so
they,
if by-
they would have to appear and
Yes,
avail themselves of a constitutional guarantee. We're not undermining their ability to do that.
this is the portion
Or
here
any
that I
right.
was trying to,
Yeah.
let me just highlight, I mean,
Sure,
again,
please.
just since he came up, says literally. Right, so they avail themselves to constitutional guarantees and any other right provided by law or by collective bargaining agreement. I'm saying that they've used collective bargaining because they use the union and say, we're not coming in.
Yeah.
Right, that's like where that language is a little sticky, right, so they have availed us, they didn't come, but they've used, so in this, if I was an attorney in that defense, this is what I would say, right, so that's sort of the one cautionary tale around being punished for availing themselves to such rights, because they have this collective bargaining agreements, and I don't know exactly, it's sort of like, does it pertain, does it not pertain, so that's sort of where, when that comes up, that's what I'm thinking, of, in terms of emphasis. That's the language I was talking.
So you're suggesting just removing it.
no,
I'm okay with that, actually.
Yep.
I mean, I think it,
Well, it's obviously crossed out anyway, so yeah.
Right,
well,
so, but yeah, that's my.
And I'll also say that when we talked about this, I reviewed something called the Weingarten rule.
yeah,
And it states that if a employee avails themselves of a discussion that could lead in any way to my being disciplined or terminated, I respectfully request that I have a member of my union either be present or I choose not to attend this meeting.
So, yeah, there's an interesting question of even after subpoena, are they just gonna?
They can, but I think they would have to respond, but you're right.
So what the subpoena does, though, it forces it to go down that path.
Force them to attend and then say. that.
Right, or not, or like, then it forces a legal process, right, if you will, if we must. That's not, they've been in this gray area for most of them.
I love everything else about the draft letter.
Okay.
So
I
I,
have a question about pensions.
Yes, the draft that, you printed, Josh, why don't you just, email it to me, because what's happening is it's still in tiny print. because
Yeah.
We didn't, it's the form.
I wanted to just ask, is there a recommendation that, like a sentence or two of proposed recommendation language that anyone wants to add now? And then I can print that because it's on the same page or send it to you to print.
I don't have the exact language, and I think you're kind of already doing it with the edits, but on page 3, right above the CRB recommendation, as a reminder, CRB findings are final. I think that whole kind of last section of the paragraph should be brought out a little bit more and kind of explained. More specifically, like, we fear that ignoring our recommendations and not responding more than a year to some recommendation undermines the values accountability. I think we understand why, but if this is gonna be sent to the commissioner, I feel like maybe even kind of speaking up to why, which is like, if you're ignoring us, we're a community, you know what I mean? I think just kind of speaking to the fact that there's an ordinance, who we are, what we should be doing.
I like what you're saying.
Yeah.
What's some language we can use?
That's where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
You have the idea though.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you, like, what do you want to hear them say?
I feel like there's something missing. It sounds like how long has this board existed? How many years? 2, 3, 5?
Five.
So in the past 5 years, like maybe even citing some of the struggles that we've had to get things past the finish line as a result of having to wait for a response. Yeah, I just feel like this is important language that just needs to be kind of brought up a little bit more. I'm not sure what to say, but it
Yeah.
feels important.
And I think that you make a good point about the communication with this is a letter addressed to the commissioner. And I know that in the beginning of the letter, you talk about CCing other other members, like the mayor's office, city councilors. I'm wondering if, because I know that the commission is in charge of talking directly to the mayor, and our role is to talk to Commissioner Cox. So I'm wondering if maybe there's a motion, or however you think would be appropriate to do it, is if we send this to Commissioner Cox, and then when the commission talks to the mayor to bring these ideas forward, as opposed to just sort of CCing. Does that make sense? Because I think the
You're
regulations say
proposing
that we should,
removing
yeah.
the mayor from this. Is that your proposal?
Well, I was gonna say, I think the only person that the subcommittee or the CRB can do is talk to Cox.
Yeah. Well, we have to figure it out of courtesy to let the mayor know that we're writing to her police chief.
And I think then I agree that we want them to know. So I'm like wondering if there's a way that we could maybe vote to have this letter also go to the commission, and then when the commission sends their letter regarding the rules amendments, they also alert these other people that you're Mayor Wu and the city councilors.
What about just
You definitely
saying,
don't need to send it to me for sure. Yeah.
well, I was just gonna say that
Yeah.
as commissioners, the OPAT commissioners, I mean, you're one of them.
Yeah.
But then it's you, it also goes to the
I think that makes sense, yes, CCing the OPAC commissioners.
and then you can take it up at your next meeting.
Yep. Because we have 2 more meetings before the end of the year.
In my opinion, it's good courtesy to copy the mayor, but if you think that that's not a good idea, or, I mean, it's just, I don't want her to think we're hiding anything from her. That's my take on it.
And Sam, what's your concern with copying her, that it will?
Well, my only concern is just that our authority is to directly communicate with the commission.
Everyone can communicate with the mayor though.
That's true.
And
I mean, like,
we're all city of Boston residents,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
I wouldn't think that that would be, I don't know, but I think everyone can communicate with the mayor and.
I also, like, I guess the back of my mind thought for this is that, when the commission met, we came up with like our regulations and our rules. And like this idea that there's gonna be a 45-day response, that they're gonna have to take our recommendations seriously, that they can't overturn our dispositions. And I think that if we were to present that in conjunction with these ideas to the mayor and be like, listen, like, here's our recommendations. Here's the reasons why these recommendations are powerful, as opposed to like sort of just like a cohesive message
Mhm.
from OPAT as a whole, as opposed to just being like, we sent this email to the
Sure,
commissioner.
as long as the mayor doesn't come back and say, why didn't you copy on me, opinion on this, that's totally fine. It was really just meant.
Would that also be the city councilors though, and for the same, or?
I mean, I
It
think
wouldn't
it's,
necessarily be.
I think it's important for them to know.
I would agree. I think it makes sense, especially for the city councilors that are in like special committees for violence prevention. I would say.
There's, can I have a thought? on that?
Sure.
I'm following what you're saying, it's operating, as you said, right? Anybody can send a letter to the mayor and to the city council, right? The way that our ordinance is set up though, is that the OPAT commission is sort of the oversight of the two boards. And it literally is just to meet with the commission, with the mayor and the city council, right? So it's designed, I think, if you're trying to communicate with the mayor, for it to go through, because there's no mention of the mayor, I think. In the CRB, like the sections are divided, right? So I'm sort of maybe a stickler for language. The sections are divided in terms of what each, so when you look at the OPAT commission, this is the oversight is the general, then it should have said, okay, mayor, city council. The lack of that language in the CRB says, okay, if we're gonna communicate to the mayor, then it should be communicated to the commission. So it's.
My only
that's
concern is that you write this letter, you send it, and a month later, someone is having a meeting with city councilor, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking.
We can put it on our website too. I mean, like, it's not
Okay,
like,
great.
like, I'm not saying we're sort of.
I think we can publish. it.
Publish, you're right, so the letter.
Okay, so we wanna just copy the OPAC commissioners?
Yeah, and then we'll publish it.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think that would be ideal. I think,
What's the distinction between? So this is CRB sending this? So,
Correct,
Yeah.
What would be, I mean, addressing most of the concerns, what would be the issue with just like the commissioner sending it then?
because the commissioners have not discussed it. The commission is separate entities, commissioners
And the CRB has the authority to make the recommendations on policy.
to the commission.
Mhm.
Right.
The commission has another authority to make some recommendations, but like,
Right, so that's
have
sort
our-
of where the dance in this space is where sort of this is coming from, right? So the commissioner met, like Sam said, perhaps next time we meet, we can bring it up and sort of elevate it, right? But the commissioners met and we overlap in the spaces of subject matter that we discuss. But this letter's not coming from the commission, right? This letter's coming from the CRB. It doesn't mean that that the commission can't join,
Yeah.
and all of that, but it's not, right? So. just
Yeah,
the
it's like we're sending it to both. You guys have to, the commission has to like implement this.
Right.
That's the CRB's concern. We're sending
Correct.
it to Cox too.
Right,
So when you all meet,
Mhm.
correct, I
you
think.
figure this out.
And
Yeah.
part of this all is that we all, I mean, this is a new space, right? We don't have policies in place, or we're sort of creating that space of process for us too, in turn, right? Because we didn't have that.
Mhm.
This is the first time, I think, officially that the CRB is making recommendations to the commission, right? So that's partly why we're having this debate around process and procedure.
Yeah.
But
Would it be possible for us to recommend to the commission that we would want them to engage, or you all to engage with city councilors and the mayor?
Yes,
So that's more appropriate.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, right,
Yeah, I
yes.
think
yes.
I would want that to happen. I think
Yeah.
also just part of realizing what's going on, figuring out how to make it public. I feel like including them in that process would be important.
Okay.
One question is, how should we sign a letter? Are we putting our names because we are the 6 who are signing this? Or we're voting on it?
I think.
Could we just say the civilian review board?
I think it's the chair on behalf of the board. The board, if the board votes, it's not necessarily, if you didn't come in and vote, it's the board, right? I think trying to put
Okay.
names of,
So-
then it becomes like, why did so-and-so vote? If the board vote, it's a board initiative, but I think obviously because you have the chair signing on behalf. If there's one signature that goes, it's the chair. To make it, to simplify it, on behalf of the. Well, I wouldn't suggest particularly, the 6 of you, right? Like, type of thing.
Okay, I have incorporated that. There's not a second recommendation, but in reviewing this, I think that that is okay as written. Because it,
I think so too.
and I will, with folks here, I will send this to print if this sort of copy. But I would move that we adopt this letter and send it. I mean, that's dated today. Send it to the commissioner.
The comment you just made, Tanisha, about incorporating.
Yeah.
I didn't want more of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm reading, you're good.
Print it just so that I can see what the edits are.
Yep.
I think I'm reading the sentence, Boston cannot move forward with the police accountability system that's ignored by the police and the employees. I think that sentence speaks closer to it.
Print one copy, John.
Too late.
However,
Right, it's
I think the language that's missing is like, we were founded on these beliefs. This is what happened in the past, and this is where we're trying to go. I'm happy to sit down with you and actually type something out, but that's what I think this last sentence, combining it with this and adding a sentence.
Can I propose something?
Yes.
Can I propose that we vote on this as written? And also acknowledge that we're gonna have printed copies, and if we come back to it before the end of the day with some modification, that we re-up the vote.
Oh, so we're voting to get this in now, so that we can come back to it later.
That would be, but if you prefer to vote on it, like, towards the end, after the executive session, once we, if we break for lunch, that might be time for us to make those changes. I don't want to
Yeah.
be pushing
We're
through.
delegating the authority to the subcommittee with
Yeah, with-
input, with
Yeah.
with the input discussed and of the members, that way it's like. In practice, generally, we're all okay with this, you're gonna give your comments, you guys might have some stuff when you two connect, you're the subcommittee, and basically, this is settled. And for the board at large, it's approved. And as long as like you're able to give your comments and you guys are good and the subcommittee's good. like,
That's fine with me.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. I would just say, I think I'm dancing around it. I think this furthers a system of just like systemic oppression transparently that we're not really speaking to. We're kind of speaking around it. And I think it's important to put that in this of like, if we're going to be working together as a system, then ignoring us isn't going to work. It's furthering the system of oppression. So
I love
as long as there's something like that, I'm cool. Yeah.
I'm also cool with that, and so the proposal
to delegate authority.
to approve this
That
letter with the
approving
Yeah.
and
delegated
subject to. Like additional comments, like you
Yeah.
could say, board member DeLeon's comments and comments of like. The subcommittee comes up, like, like we're
Do you-
we're delegating it, we're
Yeah.
approving subject to any additional comments from board members. And final approval delegating to the subcommittee that way, like, we don't have to come back here
Got it.
to reapprove.
So,
You
So,
guys
Mr.
are-
Alvarez, do you have a motion?
Motion to approve this subject to additional comments from board members and delegating authority to the subcommittee.
Does anybody
itself.
second that motion?
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call vote, and
Before you do that, just, sorry. this means then that just so executing side of it, so you delegated the final decision to the subcommittee, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so there's,
To
because
send a letter?
there's some
For
edit.
the edit, yeah.
Not to send the letter, but to incorporate additional edit in line with the discussion.
We don't wanna do two votes, we don't wanna
But
wait for
the
the next.
letter is still gonna be signed on behalf of.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, so what yeah, no, it's just, yeah, the open meeting laws, thank you. It's sort of, so now if there's a back and forth with the subcommittee, in non-public space that's what's raising my, it's like, if
Thank
they
you
got.
so much.
That's what I'm sort of like, okay, you send it back, then that means they're gonna have to come in place in some shape or form again, as they have, to approve the final. Because going back and forth via email with everybody sending thoughts, it could be problematic. That's sort of why I was pausing.
Cannot happen.
That, I think that's really important. Thank you so much for bringing that up before the vote. We certainly do not want to break public meeting law.
I think it's more about the vote itself, so.
But it doesn't have to come back here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I think for efficiency's sake.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to come back here, that whatever way that can happen. I think public meeting law, like, I don't, I'm trying to get a sense of like, if there's a final copy, if the subcommittee can do that. And present a copy, and then we look at the copy, I don't know like why the subcommittee takes revisions and then gives you a copy.
One thing we could do is before we all leave, before we don't have quorum anymore later today, that we return to this and we may have additional language that is.
We're gonna approve it at the end when you're making the decisions after executive session, yeah, that might be the easiest to get around.
The risk being that someone has to leave all of a sudden and we don't get to them. Well,
Yep.
I'm sorry. That kind of got,
the proposal is that we sort of table this matter for right now. We continue with the other business, go into executive session as
okay, so.
anticipated. And then when we come back out of executive session, one or more members may have time, you know, on a lunch break or a water break to propose the additional probably sentence or two. I mean, look, a letter could be many, many pages, but and hopefully before the end of today, then we vote on a final letter. Is that
Yeah,
okay with you?
I'm cool with it.
I'm happy with that.
So someone's motion for that?
I so move, as I just said.
And I second that, and we don't have your Mr. Fitzgerald.
You're taking the seat.
I know,
You did that.
you know, formal complaint to be filed. So
Do we need to vote roll call on tabling him?
No.
Yeah.
No, you do?
You're tabling it?
We're tabling it to the
For later.
meeting.
Later in the meeting.
Like the end where we vote again, where people can.
No,
vote.
you can just say.
okay, so then let's just move to the executive session. So I move to the executive session.
Before we go, I just want to say thank you for the engagement to everyone on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Mhm.
Subcommittee members as well.
Seconded.
Mr. Fitzgerald. For the
But what, we're
Motion.
tabling?
no, executive session now.
Oh, yes, I'm in favor, yeah.
Mr. Dankoff,
Yes, in favor.
Ms. De Leon,
In favor.
Mr. Smalls.
Yes.
In favor, and Mr. Alvarez.
Yes.
And now we are gonna move to the executive session.
You guys can script when you're done.
Are good. 3:46 PM.
We. Might not have, did we get minutes in the executive session? I don't think we approved the minutes from last executive session.
For the Martha?
Yeah. Eh,
Yeah, there are executive session minutes. We have to approve them while we're still in.
Yeah, got motion to enter.
Go enter back in. Second,
Seconded, motion to exec session. You gotta
Mark, you put us back on,
off and
or
then
put it on mute at least.
back and open. Providers in the conference room and turn off the sound machines. The CRB meeting will resume the public session. The CRB will vote on the disposition of the cases presented today, or I will read the case number and the recommended disposition for that case. We will then hold a roll call vote for each case number to adopt the disposition. Does the board have any questions about the procedure?
No,
Okay, let's begin. In the matter of 332, case number against Officer Megan Green, for violation of, respectful treatment. OPAT's recommended disposition is information inquiry. When your name is called, please state how you are voting. I vote yes. Information inquiry. Sam,
Oh, Dr. Dankoff, yes, mission.
Bernie Fitzgerald, yes.
Tanisha DeLeon, yes.
Reggie Smalls, yes.
Peter Alvarez, yes.
okay, for count number 2, self-identification. I vote not sustained.
Josh Dankoff, not sustained.
Bernie Fitzgerald, not sustained.
Tanisha not sustained.
Reggie Smalls, not sustained.
Peter Alvarez, not sustained.
For count number 3, bias-free police policy, violation of the bias-free police policy. I, Sam Harold, vote not sustained.
Josh Dankoff, not sustained.
Bernie Fitzgerald, not sustained.
Tanisha not sustained.
Reggie Smalls, not sustained.
Peter Alvarez, not sustained.
All right, and then we're gonna go to, I believe, 510. And this is case number 510 against officers, Green, Banker, and I believe Claiborne. I guess some clarification on that last,
Playboy.
Claiborne. And this is in regards to 102, section 4,
Neglected.
neglect of duty. And Sam Harold, I vote sustained.
Josh Dankoff, sustained.
Bernie Fitzgerald, sustained.
Tanisha sustained.
Reggie Smalls, sustained.
Peter Alvarez, sustained.
And for the disposition, we are recommending oral reprimand. Sam Harold for oral reprimand.
Josh Dankoff, oral reprimand.
Bernie Fitzgerald, oral reprimand.
Tanisha DeLeon, oral reprimand.
Reggie Smalls, oral reprimand.
Peter Alvarez, over reprimand.
And okay, so now moving on to 259. We have this is in regards to Kyle Owen Goggin and Manuel Mundo. And we have one count of respectful treatment under 102.9, and then use of non-lethal force 304 2. What was your
Insufficient on both.
insufficient? Okay, so I vote insufficient on both counts.
Josh Dankoff, insufficient.
Bernie Fitzgerald, insufficient, both counts.
Tanisha DeLeon, insufficient, both counts.
Reggie Smalls, insufficient on both counts.
Peter Alvarez, insufficient on both counts.
Thank you. Moving on to the case 243 regarding BPD personnel, Alexis Williams. We have 3 proposed violations: 102 section 4 neglect of duty, 102 section 9 respectful treatment, 324 section 4 report taking. And for 243, we have unfounded on all counts. Sam Harold, unfounded.
Josh Dankoff, unfounded all.
Bernie Fitzgerald, unfounded.
Tanisha DeLeon, unfounded.
Reggie Smalls, unfounded.
Peter Alvarez, unfounded on all 3.
Thank you all. Moving on to 272, involving police officers Connor Askins, Michael Walsh, Jonathan, Michael Marcel, Daniel Toomey, Kevin Cooper, Anthony Belismo, and Eric McPherson. We have 4 proposed violations. We have 102 4 neglect of duty, 102 9, I believe, is respectful treatment, 3042 non-lethal force. And 405 section, I believe 10, which is the body worn camera policy. For counts 1 and 2, I'm voting not sustained. For counts 3 and 4, I'm requesting information inquiry. How does the rest of the board find?
Joshua Dankoff, again for counts 1 and 2, not sustained, and 3 and 4, information inquiries.
Fitzgerald, 1 and 2, not sustained. 3 and 4, additional inquiry.
Tanisha DeLeon, not sustained on counts 1 and 2, and information inquiries for 3 and 4.
Reggie Smalls, counts 1 and 2, not sustained, 3 and 4, information included.
Peter Alvarez, not sustained on 1 and 2, information inquiry on 3 and 4.
Thank you. And moving to case 174. And this is involving 3 officers and another BPD staff. Angel Figueroa, Gregory Thornton, Kevin McFoldich, and Deborah Byron. And they are all charged with 1 count of neglect of duty. My vote is to sustain that and install a penalty of a 1-day suspension and training. 1-day suspension and training. As do all officers.
Joshua Dankoff also votes sustained for all officers and 1-day suspension and training.
Bernard Fitzgerald, 1-day training, 1-day
1-day suspension
suspension on all 4.
and vote to sustain.
Then sustained.
Oh, sustained, I'm sorry.
Tanisha DeLeon, sustained for all officers and employees, including 1 day of training and 1 day of suspension.
Reggie Smalls, voting for all 4 officers to be sustained, 1-day suspension with training for all 4.
Peter Alvarez, sustained for all 4 personnel. Peter Alvarez, 1-day suspension and training for all 4.
Okay, thank you. The CRB has no more cases before it today, and we will move on to other business. Does anyone have any additional business or outstanding questions to ask?
I do, Chair, earlier in this meeting, the board discussed a draft letter to send to the BBD commissioner. I would like to move that the board vote on adopting and agreeing to send that letter to the commissioner.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Is there any other business? At this point, is there a motion for the CRB to adjourn until our next meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
The time is now 3:56. The meeting is now adjourned.
Awesome.
I feel like that was a good meeting.